Hi, welcome to the White Guy Show. I'm Whitey, and today I'm going to review a film called The Yellow Birds. It's either Yellow Birds or The Yellow Birds, and it's a story that takes place during the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan. And I honestly don't recall if it's Iraq or Afghanistan, and that's fine, but I'm pretty sure it's Iraq. And it follows two young privates in the army, and it's not told linearly. It's told in kind of like flashback kind of style. So you start off right away. There's a private named Bartle and a private named Murphy. Bartle's a 20-year-old Marine. I'm sorry, and he's in the Army, and kind of doesn't know what he wants to do with his life. He went into the Marines just to be doing something really, but he's not like gun ho G.I. Joe. And then he meets a guy named Private Murphy right away in the movie, and Murphy's just turned 18, and he's a little more upper middle class, and he's going in the army because he wants to go to college, Virginia Tech or something like that is a specific plan. And then Private Bartle's just turned 20, is just kind of doesn't know what he wants to do with his life, and he's a little more working class, hard knocks. Um, and so they become buddies initially. They start a conversation just because they're from the same state. They're from Virginia. And then their staff sergeant named Sterling ends up pairing them up, making them what you call battle buddies. And so they become friends over time. And then you know right away from the opening dialogue that something bad happened to Private Murphy, but you don't know what it is. And so it's basically, again, it's told as the narrative is progressing forward. You're flashing back to different events as they deploy overseas and experience war, and then bad things happen to people. But it's very well directed. Who's all in this? I should have looked this up, but the guy who was in it's Jack Huston or Houston is Staff Sergeant Sterling, and he was in Boardwalk Empire. He was the dude who was missing a lot of the World War I veteran who was missing half his face. He had to wear like a plastic mask or whatever. He's in this, and he does a fantastic job as an Army Staff Sergeant. He's one of those actors who every character he plays is different, and he sells it 100%. I mean, he disappears into this role. I saw this in clips on YouTube. I was like, well, that looks interesting, and so I downloaded it, and I watched the movie, and I was like, God, who is that guy? This dude is crushing it. And then I looked it up, and I was like, that's the guy from Boardwalk Empire. I love that dude, but I didn't recognize him. I mean, so you talk about, and in Boardwalk Empire again, he's missing half his face. But I watched every season of that, and I was a big fan. And even though I'm staring at the same guy, I didn't recognize him. That's how good of a performance he gave. The two guys who play Bartle and Murphy do a great job. They've been in other stuff. And then for the lady from Friends, I should have this shit sitting in front of me. Anyway, everybody involved does a really good job in acting. The film looks really good. It's not it's not a combat film. It's not a war film per se. The war itself isn't the point. The point is what these characters are going through, but the combat sequences they have, and just there's like a bit where they're getting ready to deploy, and the families are sent to this party kind of thing for the guys before they deploy, and then when they're coming back, you kind of just get a sense of what the lifestyle is like being in the army in the current year of the movie. And I thought they did a really good job with all of that. And then when Bartle comes home, instead of like in just the previous scenes, he's hanging out with his buddy Murphy, and then he's the only one that comes back. And so, again, from the very opening line, you know something bad happened to this kid, but what happened? And then his mom of Private Murphy is going around looking for her to find out what happened to her son, because you find out there's like on the TV in the back there's like an announcement about a soldier who's missing, MIA, missing in action. So she's going around trying to figure out what happened to her son, and she visits the guy Bartle, his mom, and they've had a falling out because he came back, and you can see things from his vantage point that what he went through was pretty brutal, and he just doesn't want to talk about it. He doesn't want to talk about it to his mom. He doesn't want to talk about it to his friends. He doesn't want to hang out with his friends. And you can see how this, whatever it is that happened, that you still don't know what it is, you can understand why he's doing what he's doing, and not wanting to be around people. I'm going to pull that up while I finish this review. But that's more of the story. And so little by little, there's some combat sequences that are shot really well, done really well. But you see, there's one bit where they're on a rooftop, and the bad guys are shooting at them. They're shooting at the bad guys, and this car, it's straight combat, nothing wrong there. But then this car with you can tell there's a woman in it. Sorry, I try to do two things at once. I should have done this beforehand. Comes driving into view, and then the sergeant lights it up with the heavy weapon that he's got, the big old machine gun he's using, and ends up killing the woman who's in the car, as well as whoever the dude is that's driving. But when I watch that happen, the one Private Murphy goes, "We just murdered that bitch." Not that like we just murdered that bitch, yeah, but like, oh my god, what did we just do? And I'm watching that going, but why would they drive into a firefight? Like an ongoing firefight. Guns are loud. So even if you're in your car, you're going to be able to see that, hear that a firefight's happening. Soldiers up on the rooftop shooting the dudes on the ground, dudes on the ground are shooting the soldiers on the rooftop. It's like, why would you drive right into the middle of that, which is what they did. And so from a soldier's perspective, you're probably thinking one thing, car bomb. Or they got guns in there, something. So Jack Huston, who plays Sergeant Sterling, lights it up. And it's like, why would it? So like you can understand why the sergeant's doing what he's doing. At least I thought. But the end result is, hypothetically, those were civilians that just got killed, or were they? And so it's shot in a way where you can kind of understand why people are making the decisions that they're making. But the end result is people getting killed on both sides. So the cast is Alden Ehrenreich, I think I'm saying that right, who plays John Bartle. Well, I thought it was Brandon Bartle. Huh. Ty Sheridan is Daniel Murphy. Jack Huston is Sergeant Sterling. Jennifer Aniston is Maureen Murphy. Toni Collette is Amy Bartle. Jason Patrick, he plays Captain Anderson, who's with CID, Criminal Investigation Division, and he's trying to find out what happened to the missing private. But again, you're not sure what happened to him either, as the viewer, till the very end of the film. And then Lee Tergesen, who's been in all kinds of stuff, he's got a small role as Private Murphy's dad. And then from there, I don't recognize any names. So you have about 6 people that you've seen in a bunch of stuff. Jennifer Aniston, you've seen in all kinds of stuff. She does a really good job. Toni Collette. So while you have the 2 privates and the sergeant, you're really following just those 3 people while they're overseas and trying to survive the war. And then Jennifer Aniston and Toni Collette and Jason Patrick are who you're following back home while that's going on. And so I don't want to spoil what happens, but it's bad. It is not good. And it's really sad. It's tragic. So, but again, it's shot in a way where you can understand why people made the decisions that they made. Nobody involved is a bunch of horrible monsters, but it's I don't want to spoil it, but the only way for you to understand what I'm talking about is to spoil it. So I'm not gonna. So you can't understand. You're just gonna have to go watch this film. The Yellow Birds. When did this come out? 2017. directed by Alexandria Moores, and it's based on a novel by Kevin Powers by the same name, The Yellow Birds. I really hope this didn't happen. Like, I hope this is not based on a true story, because it's sad skis. But at one point, the two privates, I didn't even see what, I don't think you see what happened to him exactly, but the one Private Murphy, Private Murphy's a younger guy, again, he just turned 18. He's from a little more upper class circumstances, and he's a bright kid, but he's just young. There's a number of things, like at one point, he's like, I'm Private Murphy, and the other guy goes, yeah, I know. And then he looks down at his name on his uniform. He's like, oh yeah. He's like one of those. So he's a sharp, bright kid with a bright future ahead of him, but just still a bit young, a bit naive. And then Bartle's a little more, he comes from Hard Knocks. So while he's able to handle the things he's going through better, Private Murphy's really shook up by him. And he can just kind of, that's one of the things I like about this film. It's like, when you're born into Hard Knocks and you're used to the just the hardship of life, you're better, you're in a better situation to handle it better psychologically. You're better prepared psychologically. Um, but it's tough. Like, it doesn't end well for anybody at all. The two mothers kind of, it's interesting because they too are from different circumstances, but because of their concern for their sons, that's never an issue, and they set that aside and come together on that stuff. Jason Patric has a small role in this. You'll recognize Jason Patric from The Lost Boys. He was Michael in that. He was in the Alamo movie. He's just been in 100 things. He has a small role, but does a good job. He's in CID, Criminal Investigation Division, and he's trying to figure out what happened to this missing soldier, and it goes from there. But that's the best I can tell you without giving anything away, which you're sitting there going, I still don't quite get what this movie's about. It's about what happens at the end of the film. The whole everything revolves around that, and so all I could do is ruin it for you. And I ain't gonna. So The Yellow Birds came out in 2017. Go watch this film. Excellent acting. The directing is really solid. I read in a review, there's not a lot on this, and sadly I don't think it was a film that I don't see a lot of reviews for, not a lot of people talk about, and it was a really good film. And one of the critics said that the combat sequences and stuff are done well, but we've seen it all before. There's nothing, no attempt to make this like stylish or stand out as a combat film in the combat sequences and whatnot, but that's not the point. The point is more the human side of things. This is a story about the people, and the backdrop is the war. It's not a story about the war. It's not a war film in a traditional sense. Band of Brothers was about the war. The Pacific was about the war. This is about the people involved. So and what happens to them and what they go through and why they're going through what they're going through. It's like, they fought in a war, but it's what happens to them when they, what they're going through when they get home is more the point. And again, I thought they did a fantastic job. So, yeah, the combat sequences, you've seen the visuals before, but again, that's not the point. The point is what they're going through as human beings. So it's a high recommend from me. I think this is something that should be shown in high schools, like in your history courses or college courses. This is about the psychology of what happens to veterans and their families and what they go through. And as a democracy, everyone should have to see this movie to understand, okay, next time we go invade somebody else's country and fight a war, this is the consequences of that. This is what people are going through. So, really well made. It's not edge of your seat excitement, but it's, I don't know, it's just important to understand what we're putting people through when we fight these damn things. So, that's it here from me at the White White Guy Show. Thank you for watching. Like, subscribe, comment in the comments section. Do go check out The Yellow Birds from 2017, and I think you'll love it. You'll late it, because it's a really good film, but it's depressing as fuck. So, see you guys on the next one. Cheers.